Welcome to Season 8 of the Finding Peace podcast. This season is focused on practical, trauma-informed tools you can use in everyday life. When emotions run high, relationships feel heavy, or your nervous system needs support. Short episodes designed to help you find more peace, joy, and connection, one moment at a time. Please welcome the host of the Finding Peace podcast, best-selling author, psychotherapist, and speaker, Troy L. Love.
One of the biggest misunderstandings about emotional healing is this. People think the goal is to never become dysregulated. They imagine that healing means reaching a place where nothing bothers them anymore. They believe that if they've done enough therapy, meditation, breath work, or personal growth, they should never become overwhelmed, reactive, defensive, anxious, angry, or shut down ever again. But honestly, that is not healing. That is an impossible standard. The goal is not to never become dysregulated. The goal is to recover differently, to recognize what is happening sooner, to treat ourselves with compassion instead of contempt, to repair what may have been damaged, and to find our way back to safety without abandoning ourselves or the people we love. Dysregulation is inevitable. Repair is optional. And repair is something we can learn. Today, we're talking about what happens after the difficult moment, after the argument, the shutdown, the panic, the angry text, the emotional flooding, or the moment when you realize you were no longer operating from your wisest, most grounded self. Healing is not measured by how perfectly you avoid those moments. Healing our attachment wounds is measured by how well we come back. Let me tell you about a man that I'll call David. David had spent years trying to become a calmer person. He had read the books, he had listened to podcasts, he had attended therapy, and learned about attachment wounds, emotional flooding, and the nervous system. He understood that he carried a very old wound of rejection. Growing up, David learned that mistakes were dangerous. If he disappointed someone, he might be criticized, humiliated, or emotionally pushed away. As an adult, David became highly sensitive to anything that sounded like disapproval. One evening, David came home after a long day at work. He was already exhausted. He'd skipped lunch, sat in traffic for almost an hour, and spent the entire day responding to problems that never seemed to end. When he walked through the door, his partner said, "You forgot to call the repair company again." It was a simple statement. There was no yelling, no accusation, no blaming really, no attack. But David's nervous system did not hear that as a simple reminder. What his nervous system heard was, "You failed. You can't be trusted. You never get anything right. You are so disappointing." And within seconds, because of that shadow of shame to judge, David became defensive. "I had a lot going on today," he snapped. "You could have called them yourself, and instead of waiting for me to do everything, you always need me to do everything around here." His partner looked surprised. I wasn't attacking you. I was just reminding you." But David was already flooded. "I'm tired of everyone thinking that I'm at fault. Nothing I do is ever good enough for you." His partner's face changed. She became quiet, turned away, and said, "I'm not doing this tonight." David walked into the bedroom and shut the door harder than he intended. And then came the silence. At first, he rehearsed his case. His royal came out and reminded him of everything he had done that day. His royal listed every way that his partner had failed to appreciate him. His royal reminded him that he was better than all of this and didn't deserve to be treated like that. And in the process, he built an airtight argument proving that his reaction was justified. But after several minutes, the anger began to fade, and shame took its place. In walked the judge and the impotent one.
What's wrong with you? You are supposed to know better. You have done all of this work, and you are still acting like a moron. You are never going to get better. It is hopeless. Your partner is worth someone who is better than you.
David sat on the edge of the bed feeling defeated. He believed that becoming dysregulated meant that all his growth had gone out the window and he was a failure. But it hadn't. Dysregulation was not the failure. The question was, what was he going to do next? Most people do one of three things after becoming emotionally activated. First, their shadows of shame show up and shame them. Their shadows say things like, "You're terrible. You're broken. You should be further along than this. You always ruin everything." Shame may feel like accountability, but it isn't. Accountability says, I did something that caused some harm and I want to address it. I want to make it better. I want to make amends. Shame says you are the harm. Accountability creates movement. Shame creates collapse. When the shadows of shame show up and we agree with what they say, after we've been dysregulated and our wounds have been hit, our nervous system does not experience safety. It experiences another attack, but this time from the shadows of shame that feel so invisible and untangible sometimes. The second common response is to blame, and that's when the shadow of shame known as the royal shows up. Instead of turning the attack inward, the royal turns it outward.
You would not have reacted that way if she hadn't said that. She knows exactly how to push your buttons. She knows exactly what to do to rile you up. She started it. It's her fault. Doesn't she know what kind of day you have had?
Blame can temporarily protect us from shame, but it also prevents us from examining our own behaviors. Someone else may have contributed to the conflict. They may have spoken carelessly. They may have touched a genuine wound. They may even need to apologize for their behavior, but their behavior does not remove our responsibility for what we did when we were activated. The third response is avoidance. We pretend the situation did not happen. We stop talking about it. We distract ourselves with work, food, substances, social media, television, gaming, or sleep. Sometimes we avoid the person entirely. We may tell ourselves, it's better to let it go. But letting something go is different from burying it. Unrepaired ruptures do not simply disappear, they accumulate. They become distance, resentment, fear, and mistrust. Shame does not restore safety. Blame does not restore safety. Avoidance does not restore safety. Repair restores safety. Dysregulation happens when the demands being placed on our nervous system exceeds its current capacity. We may have been tired, hungry, overstimulated, afraid, lonely, triggered. We may have felt rejected, abandoned, betrayed, controlled, ignored, misunderstood. Our nervous system may have interpreted the moment as a threat, even if another part of us knew that we were physically safe. When the nervous system detects danger, it does what it's designed to do. It mobilizes. It fights back. It runs. It freezes. It shuts down. It disconnects. This does not excuse harmful behavior. Understanding is not the same as excusing. We can recognize that our reactions come from a wounded and overwhelmed nervous system while also taking responsibility for what happened. We can say something like, my nervous system just got really overwhelmed and I spoke in a way that was hurtful. Both parts can be true. we were regulated, and our behavior did affect somebody else. This is where the healing begins, not with condemnation, but with honest, compassionate responsibility. Let's go back to David. There he is, sitting on the edge of his bed, wallowing in self-pity, not knowing what to do. But the truth is, he had a choice. He could continue making the agreements with the shadows of shame, which were beating him up and telling him that he wasn't enough. He could agree with the royal and march right back into that living room and prove that his partner was wrong. He could listen to the impotent one who tells him that nothing is ever going to get better no matter what he does, and stay in the bedroom all night pretending that nothing happened. Or he could do something different. He could put both feet on the floor. He could take a slow breath, not because one breath is going to magically fix everything, but because he wanted to signal to his body that he was no longer fighting. He does a body scan. He notices his jaws clenched. He notices the tightness in his chest. He notices that his hands are still curled into fists. And he also notices that his shadow of shame, the judge, is saying, "Why in the world are you like this?" And he asks a different question in response. What does my nervous system need for me to come back online? And that question can change everything. If he listens to the judge that says, "Why on earth did you do that?" that pulls him right back into the shame, judgment, and analysis. But when he asks, "What does my nervous system need?" it allows him to move into care and recovery. And sitting with that, he realized, I need some water. I need to take a few minutes without talking. I need to remind myself that being told that a task was forgotten does not mean that I failed. I need to recognize that my wounds have been hit and that my wounds need some love and compassion. As he sat with that, slowly he unclenched his hands. He went and got a glass of water. He placed one hand over his chest and said, "I made a mistake, but I am not a mistake." And after about 10 minutes, he returned to the living room. His partner was sitting on the couch, and David said, "Can we try that again? When you reminded me about the repair company, I heard it as criticism. That wasn't what you said, but it definitely touched one of my old rejection wounds, and I became defensive, and I blamed you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk to you like that, and you are worth more than me to speak to you in the way that I did." Notice what he didn't say. He did not say, "I'm sorry, you should have reminded me differently." And he didn't say, "I'm sorry that you felt hurt. I'm sorry that you felt that way." He didn't say that. He didn't demand immediate forgiveness. He acknowledged what happened. He named his behavior. He took responsibility for the impact. And he communicated what had happened inside of him without using it as an excuse. Now, his partner did not immediately smile and say, "Oh, that's fine, honey. Everything's okay." Repair doesn't always do that. In fact, rarely does it ever produce instant relief. Sometimes the other person now needs some time to work through things because we have bumped up against their attachment wounds. But David had done something differently. He had interrupted the old pattern, and that is important. Here is the finding peace reframe for today. Healing is measured by how you come back, not by how you never fall. You will have moments when your wounds speak before your wisdom does. You will occasionally say something you wish you could take back. You may shut down, become defensive, raise your voice, over-explain, withdraw, or search for reassurance in ways that create more tension. And I know because I've done all of that. The presence of dysregulation does not mean that we're not healing or we're not getting better. Look at the recovery. Do we notice the activation sooner and catch it? Do we pause before causing greater damage? Do we become curious instead of cruel? Do we take responsibility without collapsing into shame? Do we return to the conversation? Do we make an honest repair? Do we learn something about what our nervous system needed and find a way to provide that in a safe way that aligns with our value system? Progress may look like being dysregulated for 20 minutes instead of 2 days. It may look like sending one reactive text instead of 20. It may look like saying, I need a break, but I'm going to come back. And then actually come back instead of disappearing and pretending that nothing ever happened. It may look like apologizing within an hour instead of waiting for 3 weeks. It may look like recognizing, this is my abandonment wound that just got hit, before deciding that the person in front of you hates you and doesn't want to see you ever again. Don't dismiss these changes simply because the activation is still present. These are signs that we are getting better. When we realize that we've become dysregulated, we might want to try moving through 4 stages. First, regulate before we analyze. When our nervous system is overwhelmed, it is usually not the right time to perform a complete investigation into our childhood, relationship, or character. Our first task is not to understand everything. Our first task is to help our body recognize that the immediate threat has passed. Try getting a drink of water, placing our feet firmly on the floor, unclenching our jaw, relaxing our hands, taking a slow exhale, stepping outside, letting the sun shine on our face, move our body gently, hold something warm or something cool, lower the lights, reduce noise and stimulation. We are not avoiding the problem. We are preparing ourselves to address it from a more grounded state. 2. Name what happened without condemning ourselves. Try saying, my attachment wounds just got hit and my system became overwhelmed. I'm feeling threatened. My rejection wound just became activated. I moved into the fight or flight response. I shut down because I was feeling unsafe. Naming the experience helps create space between us and the reaction. Instead of allowing the judge to show up and hijack us by saying, you are an angry person, we might say, I experienced a surge of anger. Instead of the judge saying, you are impossible to love. No one could ever possibly love you ever again. We might say, my abandonment wound got hit, and the associated core belief is reminding me that I believe that in the end, I'm going to be left. But the evidence shows that there are people who are still with me. When the shadows of shame show up, they try to put upon you an identity of powerlessness, weakness, but that's not who you really are. What we do instead is understand that we are having an experience, and experiences can move. 3rd, take responsibility for the impact. Regulation without responsibility can become avoidance. Once we're grounded enough, we can ask, okay, what did I do? What choices did I make? How might that have affected the people that I love or other people? What needs to be acknowledged? What part did I play in this situation? And a meaningful repair might sound like, I raised my voice and that wasn't okay. Or I shut you out without telling you when I would come back. Or, I accused you of something that you didn't actually say. Or I sent a message designed to hurt you, and I regret that. Or I became defensive instead of listening to what you had to say. Or I can wrap my head around why that affected your sense of safety so badly. A sincere apology does not require us to accept responsibility for everything in the conflict. What it does ask, though, is for us to take responsibility for our part in the conflict. And fourth, identify what we need next time. After the repair, become curious. What conditions contributed to the dysregulation? Were you exhausted? Had you eaten? Did the conversation remind you of a past betrayal? Did you feel cornered? Were you trying to discuss something important while already flooded? What might help us next time? Perhaps we say to ourselves, I want to talk about this, but I need about 10 minutes to settle. Or perhaps we ask, just for clarification, are you criticizing me or are you asking for something? Because I'm unclear. Perhaps we need to recognize that difficult conversations should not happen at midnight or 1 a.m. in the morning, and they shouldn't last for 4 hours in the middle of the night. Perhaps we need to tell the other person, when I hear that tone, my nervous system reacts and it absolutely bumps up against my rejection wound. I am working on that, but it would really help if we could slow things down. Recovery teaches us how to prepare for the next moment. So here's the invitation. The next time you become activated, which may be right now, or 10 minutes from now, or maybe later tonight, or in the morning or something, try not to let the judge show up and say, well, why in the world did you do that, you freaking idiot? Because the moment the judge shows up, it can quickly become an interrogation. Yeah, why am I like this? Why can't I control myself? Oh my gosh, my judge is so right. I ruin everything, which is not going to help anybody. Instead, we might gently ask, what does my nervous system need right now to come back online? And then pause and listen. Maybe our system needs to become quiet. Maybe it needs movement. Maybe it needs food, water, sleep, space, reassurance, or connection. Maybe it needs to hear, hey, I love you. It's okay to slow down right now. We don't have to solve this immediately. This is a real feeling, but it's not a permanent one. This will pass. I can take responsibility without the judge beating the crap out of myself. And once we feel more grounded, I might ask, what do I need? What needs repair? And then what would help me respond differently next time? So let's try something right now. If you are not driving, place your feet on the ground if you're able. Notice the surface supporting you. Take a slow breath in and allow the exhale to be a little longer than the inhale. Notice whether you are carrying tension in your jaw, shoulders, hands, or stomach. You do not have to force the tension away. Simply let your body know that you've noticed. Now, think of a recent moment when you became emotionally activated, when one of those 6 attachment wounds got bumped. Do not choose the most overwhelming event of your entire life. Choose something that's a little bit more manageable. Maybe a tense conversation, a defensive reaction, a mistake you made, a moment when you withdrew, a time when you became sharper than you intended. And then notice that the shadows of shame are lurking out there and they may want to attack you, but you say, hey, I'm doing something different. And it's almost like you put your hand up and you say, hey, shadows, chill out right now. My nervous system is trying to protect me. And then you say, and I'm responsible for what I did while I was protecting myself. Take another breath. And then ask, when my wounds were being hit, what did I need in that moment? Not what did I need to do, what did I need? Perhaps I needed a pause. Perhaps I needed reassurance. Perhaps I needed safety. Perhaps I just needed to notice the old wound was hurting and that it needed comfort. And then I ask, well, is there anything I need to repair in this situation? Maybe I need to apologize. Maybe I need to clarify. Maybe I need to return to a conversation that I abandoned. Maybe I need to repair my relationship with myself. Maybe I need to say, hey, my sweetheart, I'm so sorry for how I spoke to you. That is not who I am, and you are worth more than that. Or, I became overwhelmed and despaired. I needed to have told you that I needed some space and that I would come back, and I didn't, and that probably scared you. Or even I might say, my judge and my impotent one and all the shadows of shame have been hanging out with me ever since that happened, and it's super annoying. I want to hold myself accountable without treating myself like I am unworthy of love. And I want to be able to let you know that you are worthy of love too. Take one more slow breath. We didn't have to repair everything in this moment. We just simply identified the next compassionate and responsible step. And then we decide whether or not we're going to take that step. There will be moments when our nervous system gets the better of us. There will be conversations we do not handle perfectly. There will be days when we fall back into old survival patterns. That does not erase our growth. We are not back at the beginning. And every time we notice, regulate, return, and repair, we are creating new neural pathways. We are teaching our nervous system that conflict does not have to end in abandonment. We are teaching ourselves that mistakes do not require shame. We are teaching the people we love that ruptures can be followed by honest return. Healthy relationships are not relationships that don't ever have a rupture. Healthy relationships are those in which repair is possible. And healthy relationships, including with ourselves, is not one in which we never struggle. It is one that we do not abandon ourselves when we are hurting. Peace is not perfection. It's not the absence of activation. It's not becoming so healed that nothing ever touches our wounds again. Peace is knowing how to find our way back to our body, back to our values, back to the people we love, and back to ourselves. Healing is not measured by how we never fall. It is measured by how we return. Peace is not perfection. It is repair. You matter, and you are worthy of love and belonging, and you are worthy of having your heart repaired and your relationships improved.
You've been listening to the Finding Peace podcast. Special thanks to Intrex for providing the theme music for this season and helping set the tone for reflection, grounding, and hope. If this episode supported you, please like, subscribe, and share the Finding Peace podcast. Your support helps these practical, trauma-informed tools reach more people who are seeking peace, clarity, and connection. To explore more resources, workshops, and upcoming events, visit findingpeaceconsulting.com. The Finding Peace podcast is hosted by best-selling author, psychotherapist, and speaker Troy L. Love. Until next time, remember, you are worthy of love and belonging.